Triumph of Surgery from Class 10. I was really worried about Tricky this time. I had pulled up my car when I saw him in a street with his mistress, and I was shocked at his appearance. He had become hugely fat, like a bolted sausage, with a leg at the end each corner. His eyes, bloodshot and roomy, started straight ahead, and his tongue lolled from his jaws. Miss Humphrey hastened to explain she was so listless. Mr. Herriot, he seemed to have no energy. I thought he must be suffering from malnutrition. So I have been giving him some little extras between his meals to build him up, some malt and cold liver and a ball of Horlicks at night to make him asleep. Nothing much really. And I did. And did you cut down the sweet things as I told you? Oh, I did for a bit, but he seemed to be so weak. I had to relent. He does love ice cream and cookie and chocolates, so I can't bear to refuse him. I looked down again at the little dog. That was trouble. Tricky's only fault was greedy. He had never been known to refuse food. He would tackle a meal at an hour of the day or night. And I wonder about all the things Miss Pomfrey hasn't mentioned. Are you giving him plenty of exercise? Well, he has his little walk with me, as you can see, but Hogskin, the gardener, has been down with lumbago, so there has been no ring throwing lately. I tried to sound shiver. Now I really mean that this if you didn't cut his food right now and give him more exercise, he is going to be really ill. You must harden your heart and keep him on a very strict diet. Miss Pomfrey wrung his hand. Oh, I will, Mr. Herriot. I'm sure you are right, but it is so difficult, so very difficult. She set off head down along the road, as if determined to put the new regime into the practice immediately. I watched their progress with a growing concern. Tricky was tottering along his little tweed coat, and he has wore a wardrobe of this coat for a cold weather, and raincoat for a wet day. He struggled on dropping his harness. I thought it would be a long before I heard Miss Humphrey. The expected call came within a few days. Miss Humphrey was distraught. Tricky would eat nothing, refuse even his favorite dish, and besides, he had bouts of vomit. He spent all his time lying on a rock, panting, didn't even want to go for a walk, didn't want to go do anything. I had made my plan in advance. The only way was to get Ricky out of the house for a period. I suggest that he be hospitalized for about a night to keep under observation. The poor lady almost swooned. She was sure she would pine and die if he is not see her every day. But I took a firm line. Ricky was very ill and this was the only way to save him. In fact, I thought it best to take him without a delay, and followed by Miss Pomfrey's wailing, I marched out of the car carrying a little dog wrapped in a blanket. The entire staff was Ross and maids rushed in and out, bringing the day bed, his night bed, favorite cushions. toys, rubber ring, breakfast ball, lunch ball, super ball, realizing my car would never hold all this stuff. I started to drive away. As I moved off, Miss Humphrey, with a despairing cry, threw an arm of a little coat through the window. I looked in the mirror before I turned the corner of the car. Everybody was in tears. Out of the road, I glanced down at the pathetic little animal gasping on the seat by my side. I patted the head, and Tricky made a brave effort to wing his tail. Poor old lad, I said, you haven't a kick in you, but I think I know a cure for you. At, at the surgery, the household dogs surged around me. Tricky looked down at the noisy pack with a dull eyes and even put down a lay low motion on a corner. The old dog, after sniffing around him for a few seconds, decided he was an unirritating object and ignored him. I made up a bed for him in a warm, loose box next to one where the other dogs slept. For 2 days I kept an eye on him, giving him no food but plenty of water. At the end of second day, he started to show some interest in his surroundings, and on the third, he began to whimper when he heard the dogs in a yard. When I opened the door, Tricky trotted out and was immediately engulfed by Drew, the greyhound, and his friend. After rolling him over, thoroughly inspecting him, the dog moved off down and the garden. Tricky followed him. The dog moved off down and the garden. Tricky followed them, rolling slightly with his surplus. Last Later that day, I was present at the feeding time and I watched while Tristan sloped the food in the bowl. There was the usual headlong rush followed by sound of high-speed eating. Every day dog knew that if he fell behind the other, he was liable to have some competition for a last part of the meal. When they had finished, Kitty took a walk around a shining bowl, licking casually inside one or two of them. Next day, an extra ball was put out for him, and I was pleased to see him jostling his way towards it. From then, his progress was rapid. He had no medical treatment of any kind, but all day he ran about with the dogs, joining their friendly screaming. He discovered the joy of being ball over the camp pond and squeezed every few minutes. He became an acceptable member of the camp, an unlikely, silky little object among the shaggy few, fighting like a tiger for his share at the mill dams and hunting rats in the old hen house at night. He had never had such a fun in his life. All while Miss Pompey hovered anxiously in the backyard, ringing a dozen times a day for a latest bulletin. I dogged the question about whether his cushions were being turned regularly or his correct coat worn according to the weather, but I was able to tell her that the little fellow was out of the danger and convalescing rapidly. The word convalescing seemed to be do something for Miss Pompey. She started to bring around fresh eggs, 2 dozen at a time, but to build up quick strength. For a happy period of my partners, I had 2 eggs each for breakfast. But when the bottles of wine began to arrive, the real possibilities of the situation began to dawn on the household. It was to enrich the British blood. Lunch became a ceremonial occasion with 2 glasses of wine before and several during the meal. We could hardly believe it when Brandy came to put a final age on a tricky constitution. For a few nights the fine spirit was rolled around, inhaled and relevantly drunk. They were days of deep consumption, starting with extra egg in the morning, improved the sustain by midday wine, and finishing luxuriously around the fire with a brandy. It was a temptation to keep Tricky on as a permanent guest, as a permanent guest, but I knew Miss Pomfrey was suffering, and after a phone, I felt compelled to phone and tell her that the little dog has recovered and was awaiting a collection. Within a minute, about 30 feet of glimpsed black metal drew up outside the surgery, and the Kaffir opened the door, and I could just make out the figure Miss Pomfrey almost lost in the interior. Her hand was tightly clasped in front of her, lips trembled. "Oh, Mr. Herriot, do tell me the truth. Is he really better?" "Yes, he's fine. There is no need for you to get out of the car. I will bring and fetch him." I walked through the house in the garden, and mess of the dog was hurtling around the lawn, and there mindset, ears flipping, tail waving was a little golden figure for the Tricky. In 2 weeks he had been transferred in a lathy, hard muscle animal. He was keeping up well with a pack and stretched out in a great bond. His chest almost brushed the ground. I carried him back along the passage in front of the house, and the Kaffir was still holding the car door open when Tricky saw his mistress. He took off from my arms and tremendous leaps and sailed into Miss Pomfrey's lap. She gave a startled "oh" and then had to be defend herself as he swarmed over her, licking her face and back. During the excitement, I helped the cashier to bring out the bait, toys, cushion, coats, balls, none of which I had used. As the car moved away, Miss Pomfrey leaned out of the window. Tears shone her eyes, her lips trembled. "Oh, Mr. Horlier," she cried, "how can I ever thank you? This is a triumph of surgery." This was the story written by James Herriot,